Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Sacred Connections podcast, our space where we get to journey together through holistic and spiritual well-being. I'm Tanya Morrissey. I'm proudly your spiritual mentor. And I'm really excited to connect with you today and to dive into our episode, because what we're going to be diving into is a form of cyclical living where we allow the seasons to be our guide. Because like nature, we too, as energetic beings, we ebb and flow. We're constantly changing. And I think we forget that, like as we grow up and enter our adulthood, we're just taught about the 9 to 5, to get up, go to work, go to bed. We're taught to just focus on our achievements, our possessions, our reputation. And we're living in a world where that's celebrated, just how much you can produce. And our level of success is measured by materials, quite superficial achievements. And to a degree, of course, we're allowed to be proud of our achievements. It can represent something a lot deeper, such as hard work and your dedication, your heart. No one's saying don't be proud of the things that you've achieved so far, your manifestations, your goals. But it's just so important to not get caught up in that, because what does happen then when we stay in that space of just achievement and striving and producing is we burn out. I've been there personally, and it's a very scary place to be in when we burn out. And so what has been a huge compass is allowing Mother Nature to guide me, to flow with the seasons. And I've also seen my clients journey with the seasons and how their well-being and how their healing has really transformed. They've learned to rest without guilt, to move through their own cycle. For women, how to honor their menstruation, so that they can also optimize their energy, and just rather than feeling pressured by society, they've really learned how to listen to their own body, to honor their own energy, and therefore create a space and a world that matches their energy. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you about how we can allow Mother Nature to guide us then. Because yes, Earth moves through seasons, in which we call them winter, spring, summer, autumn. And we also move through similar seasons. In winter, we look out and we see the trees, they're after shedding their skin, shedding their leaves, animals go into hibernation. We know it's a time for Mother Earth to rest. And so that's why it's important to allow that to reflect and to remind us that, we too must rest. We also need to honor that time to journey inward, so that we can check in on ourselves. What's been festering inside? What do we need to release? What's no longer serving us? And just take time to be. At the end of the day, we're human beings. And so that winter time reminds us to do the same. And again, sticking with the tree, yes, the tree may be bare. She's not wearing her leaves. But when you look down into her roots, there's so much inner work going on. And so that's why we too have an inner winter. We can take that time to journey inward, to be introspective, to focus on our well-being, to focus on our healing, so that we're aligning to what feels right for us. And that can only happen when we take that time to pause. So that's how we can honor our inner winter. So when we look out at Mother Earth, when we see she's in winter, you might also feel pulled to journey inward and to not resist that. Just see how it can influence your thought patterns, taking that time to slow down, how it can influence your emotions, to allow what's been buried underneath to come to the surface, to release. And then even energetic alignment. You're just learning how to honor your energy, and it also enhances your connection, your reminder that you are part of nature. That's where true nature came from. It's our reminder that we're a part of this collective consciousness. We too are nature. It's just we forget, and that's okay, but we're here to remember. And so, yes, allow Mother Earth's winter to remind you just how important it is to honor rest, to take that time to slow down, to pause, to be, to shed, so that you can begin to make space for what's yet to come. And so now this is where we shift into springtime. Like Mother Earth, you see life starting to come back again. Animals are having their babies. There's more of a stretch starting to come in the evening. Us Irish are notorious for that saying, a grand old stretch in the evening. And you just see colours coming back even on the flora and the fauna. And yeah, you just start getting that motivation to quite literally plant seeds. That's not just metaphorical. This is where it's a powerful time for you to start planting your seeds, planting your ideas, what's feeling right for you, whether that's seeking a new job opportunity, education, if you're drawn to connect with certain people, to start implementing habits that serve your highest good. It's just taking that time to start planting the seeds, because you've had that winter time where you got to reevaluate, to check in, to rest, to let go of what's no longer serving you. You're after creating that space. So now you can start trusting yourself that, okay, this is what I'm drawn to implement now, whether it's a daily habit, to improve your mindset, to connect with other people, your environment, whatever it might be, to start implementing those changes, but slow and intentionally. Earth doesn't go straight from winter into summer. She has that transition period. And so that's why it's important for you to meet yourself where you're at, rather than just quitting the job, leaving yourself high and dry, feeling under pressure, overwhelmed, just even looking, just seeking opportunities, whether you reach out to people, you look online, whatever it might be, just start planting those seeds. And so that's why springtime is a very important time to practice patience. You have to be very patient during your inner spring, because it's not about just seeking results. It's just teaching you to really be in the journey, to just trust that you are on the right path. And how you know that is because you're implementing those slow and intentional steps that is bringing you to where you want to be. So take your time during this phase if that's where you feel you're at now. Just because it's wintertime here in Ireland, it doesn't necessarily mean you feel like you're hibernating. Now, I'm going to touch on this in depth in a few minutes about how our own inner seasons won't always match the world's seasons, but to just have patience during this phase, your inner spring, you're just implementing those small and intentional steps. And then we enter summertime. So yes, Mother Earth is now in full bloom. The sun is in the sky. I also think of children when I think of summertime. It's that playfulness, spontaneity. It's high energy. You're outputting a lot of energy. You're feeling more drawn to connect with people, to travel, to just honor your power. This is where you're like your real powerhouse. You're just doing everything that you set your intentions. You're embodying all the work that you've been putting in, whether that's again through your daily habits, your mindset, your energetic alignment. You're just simply in it, and you're blossoming and you're growing, and you just honor that inner power, that drive to just keep going. So it is healthy to have that motivation, the creativity, that when you're feeling energized, to absolutely utilize that. For example, you might usually crave a slow morning, but if there's a morning where you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I have lots of energy, and you're drawn then to get all the chores done in your house, or the job that you've been putting off, or you're self-employed, or you want to bring an idea into your workspace, that's the time when you're in your summer to just go for it. Feel the fear, do it anyway, just fully be in your power. So summertime is very extroverted. You're really putting yourself out there. You're standing strong in what you believe. You're embodying all the work, and you're just simply in it. And so, yeah, it can be quite an exciting time, because it'll be those moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe a few months ago when I started implementing those changes, that here I am now. It is quite a space full of gratitude and to celebrate. That's what summer is also about, like celebrate all those little wins. It's not always the grand gestures, the stuff that you see on social media. It's you taking the time during this space to celebrate yourself and be like, wow, I really did go through that time in winter where I shedded, I released. It wasn't easy, but I done it. And then I picked myself up. I started implementing those changes in spring. I was trusting the process, and now here I am. That's how moving through our own inner seasons can look. And we've all been there. And I really feel that by allowing Mother Earth to just be that constant reminder that you are this cyclical being, you do move through cycles, you move through seasons, that you'll encourage yourself then to just embrace your own natural rhythm, wherever you are in your journey, whether winter, spring or summer, to just trust that. You are an intuitive being by nature, you're an energetic being, and this is part of your journey. So yeah, summertime, full of motivation, determination. You're very much in your doing phase. I like to say bossing it. You're in it. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate all the small wins. Celebrate each other. That's a huge thing about the summertime. And then what goes up must come down. Again, cyclical. This is normal. It's nothing to fear. It's nothing to dread. And from my own personal and professional experience, like I've seen this time and time again where people are scared to slow down. They know for example, in Ireland, when autumn comes in, they know the longer evenings are about to start. The mornings are going to be darker. And there seems to be a fear around that because it's a reflection that change is coming. And it's the reminder that we do move through seasons and change and transformation. Like as a human, you're never going to be in the same spot. And that's guaranteed. And that doesn't have to be negative. It teaches you to go with the flow, to give yourself the mental freedom, to give yourself the space to grow, to cherish the good times, when you're in them, that when you're going through something difficult, that this too shall pass. Like change is inevitable. And so when autumn comes in, you will notice a shift in your mood, and to, just hold yourself with extra care and tenderness around this time. If those initial reactions come in of, oh my God, the change is happening, to just remind yourself and be like, you know what? I'm going to take a book or take a page out of Mother Earth's book here and embrace the change. I'm going to just hold space for whatever is coming up. That after all that has been happening the last while, I'm going to take this moment to just pause, to just take that time now to check in on myself again. How is my well-being? How is my mental health, physical health, spiritual health? Am I feeling called to just learn something new now? Do I want to let go of anything? It's a transition again. Springtime and autumn time, it's all about gentle transitions, to encourage yourself to slow down during the autumn so that come winter, it's not a huge shock to the system. So yeah, autumn is really, really important to remember to slow down, to honor rest, and yeah, just to not dread transition. Don't dread this time. When you learn to harness cyclical living and this innate wisdom, you learn to really optimize your well-being on all levels. Like I've seen it transform my clients. And even this time, a lot of my clients last year would have felt as though that their habits were starting to be affected, such as daily movement or their daily mindfulness practices or spiritual practices, because they just noticed they wanted to rest, and they kind of took that as a sign of, sure, I'll just let it all go for the winter now and I'll start again in spring or summer. But they've learned that it doesn't have to be that way. Perhaps it just means slowing down, rather than hopping up at 6 a.m, you might give yourself the extra hour in bed, and rather than going straight for the walk, you might just start with your meditation and go for a walk during the day or later that evening. You can shift things around. You have the power to do that. And so, yeah, aligning your energy with Mother Nature's seasons, it can truly transform your health and your well-being. And so I want to touch a little bit more then on what I mentioned a few moments ago about just because Mother Earth might be in winter doesn't mean you have to meet her there. You might be feeling that inner summer where you're inspired and like you're in your creative flow and you're just feeling called to manifest and to really step into your power, to trust that. And so you might wonder then, like, okay, how do I tap into my inner seasons? The first thing you can do is journal. Like, I can't emphasize just how powerful journaling is, and asking yourself, what inner season do I feel like I'm in and why? It helps when you can understand why, so that over time you begin to recognize this passion within yourself so that you can align your thoughts, your habits, your energy to where it is that you are. So if you're in your inner summer, you'll start organizing a routine that allows you to optimize your creativity, the jobs that you want to get done, your energy, you'll utilize all that good stuff. If you're in your inner autumn, you'll allow that time to slow down whilst getting the few jobs that you'd like to get done. If you're in your inner winter, self-care is so important here. Just really learning to not put pressure on yourself, to tend to your mental and emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, to reach out for support. That's another important thing with winter, is that you have to remember you're not alone. You can still reach out like the tree in wintertime. Yes, its leaves are shedding, but still deeply connected into earth. Her roots are still growing and connected to everything else around her, so that's you too. So if you're in that space, reach out for support. And if you're in your inner spring, just take the time to implement the changes that you're feeling called to do. So journaling will just really allow you to bring all this to fruition, to bring it into your awareness so that you can start implementing where you're feeling drawn to go. Meditation is also really important, taking that time to close your eyes, to journey inward, to be with your breath, be with your body, and recognize what is currently present within you. So meditation and journaling are going to be a huge part of aligning to your seasons. And also just taking down notes from this episode today, anything that resonate with you, just write it down so that it's in your awareness so that you can think about it a little bit deeper and see how you'd like to bring it into your day-to-day. And as always, I would love to hold space for you in my one-to-one Connect program if this is something that you're drawn to explore deeper, because everyone's journey is different. We all operate differently as well. So your inner cycle is going to be different to mine. And I can guide you to recognize your seasons and how to align to them. So if you're drawn to work together, please feel free to reach out today. I'd love to connect with you and chat further. But thank you all so much for listening to this episode today. I really hope that you took something from it. Please share your insights, your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you feel this would help a family member or friend or partner, please feel free to share this podcast as well. But as always, it was so lovely connecting with you. I'm sending you my love always.